going on, guys? Welcome back to this week's episode of Outside the Arena with Rob and Griff. I'm Griffin, joined by my co-host Rob Goldberger, and we're back for our first back-to-back episode in a very long time, multiple months. But we're back. We're back for the month of December. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah to all you Outside the Arena fans out there. We're back, and I mean, what a week it has been in the sports world. Some good, some bad, especially for my New York Mets. We'll get into that in a little bit. We are going to start off with the college football playoff because things have gotten very interesting since last week. Obviously, this week you have the conference title games, and last night we saw USC get absolutely killed by the Utah Utes. I believe it was 47-24. Caleb Williams very banged up in that one. And then today, TCU, their perfect season came to an end. Kansas State in overtime wins 31-28. So, last week after Ohio State got blown out, it seemed like they would be on the outside. Now they're, I think, comfortably 100% in the college football playoff. And I think it is set. We kind of spoke off air before that this playoff will be Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, TCU in some various order. What are your thoughts, Rob, on the games this week? And obviously USC, TCU, big losses there, but also just the college football, appeared playoff and, what the matchups might look like.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start out with USC here. I mean, I think the thing about USC is that they just had this unbelievable, like the Patrick Mahomes of college football, basically, to carry them throughout the whole year. But their Achilles heel the whole year has been their defense, and it showed last night. Williams, despite playing on one leg the whole night, he still gave him 24 points to work with. I mean, the 3rd and 19 changed the game last night for USC. Utah knew how to beat USC, and it was through just attacking them through the air over and over and over again. And they can't tackle. USC can't tackle. I mean, if you looked at that game last night, how many missed tackles? The touchdown to the tight end after USC got the momentum, they just complementary football is not a strength of USC. And that can be said for a lot of these college football teams. Like Tennessee was a team that for a long time looked like a lock for the college football playoff and then gave up 63 points to South Carolina. Look, I think Alabama, I think it really helps to have such a stout defense, especially this year, because I think defense across college football among the top teams has just declined so significantly. And that's why I think Griff and I were talking about it before we came on air. Like you say, Georgia's the clear favorite for this. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt. Obviously, followed by Michigan, the two undefeated teams. But look, Ohio State did enough during the regular season. They beat a top 10 opponent on the road. That was their most important game. I understand how important the game is, obviously, but that game gave them a ton of insurance. Alabama has some good wins, but they don't have. The truth is, Alabama doesn't have a win over a top 10 opponent on the road. They lost their game against their top 10 opponent.
They really don't have many great wins.
The Ole Miss win at the time was impressive, and then they lost to Mississippi State. So that win has certainly gone down in its significance. But like you said, Alabama doesn't really have any significant wins. Now, do I think that Alabama is a better football team than TCU? Yes, I do. But does that mean that they deserve to be in over TCU? I don't think so. Like you said, I think the interesting thing that can be made about a team like USC is, can you really punish them for playing an extra game that Ohio State didn't play? And I think that there's credence to that argument, except USC's strength of schedule wasn't very strong. If you're going to have, in order to compensate for that OSU win over Penn State, you needed to win that conference championship. They had a chance to redeem their one loss, essentially show off a spotless record to the committee, and they couldn't do it. I mean, I think TCU is going to be a little overmatched in the playoffs. I think if you want to talk about a team, I understand TCU lost today, but Max Duggan had a heroic performance back there. I mean, that guy he was hurt. He was playing only, and he threw for 150 yards or 250 yards, ran for another 120. I mean, the guy is a word. I think TCU got screwed at the end of that game. I think on 3rd down they were in, but I think all they needed to do was not to lose by 30. And like you said, I think those 4 teams are almost a guaranteed in. And Griffin and I were talking about it before, but the significance of a Michigan-Ohio State game in the playoff, which looks like that would be the case right now, would just be absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, you said it pretty well. USC, they controlled their own destiny, and it just happens. Caleb Williams, incredible season. His name's going to be, right up there with the Heisman. I guess he's probably still the favorite, but I don't really.
I would think so. He's still. I think him and Duggan, Max Duggan.
Duggan.
Yeah.
Yeah. or maybe CJ Stroud's still up
Chris
there
Brown, yeah,
somewhere.
yeah,
B. John also,
yeah,
but um, yeah, I mean, it's a tough loss. They played pretty bad after starting out. That they had a good first quarter, and then from there it was just a disaster, especially at the end of the game. I mean, Utah just kept pouring and pouring on. Kind of very symbolic of the Ohio State Michigan game from the week before.
yeah.
How it just like it was
Spiraled out
close
of
for a
control.
while, and then it just got out of control at the end. Um, yeah, so they're not going to be in, obviously. Ohio State, say what you want about them. They obviously had that, very bad loss to Michigan. Michigan's the number 2 team in the country at the end of the day. Like that loss is like you're not losing to some bad school or someone around the 10 or 15 mark. They lost to a team that's going to be in the playoff, and that's their top, 2 opponents. So they're going to be in. I think unquestionably, and they would be in regardless of what happened today. TCU should also be in. I don't think the committee, the way they've been
TCU,
talking, is going to take a 2-loss Alabama over 1-loss TCU. TCU lost by 3 points in their, conference championship game. Like they're safe.
against a team they already beat this year, by the way. So like that's another
Yeah.
important fact.
No, their TCU is good. Yeah, I think we're going to see, Georgia and Michigan. To be honest, I think no matter what that is, we're going to see Michigan, Ohio State. It's just going to happen. Like if Georgia somehow loses tonight and Michigan wins,
They'll put
they're
Ohio
going to put
State
Ohio
forward.
State at 4. Yeah, I mean, it's just going to happen at this point. With the TCU loss, they can now essentially manipulate it whatever way they want to get Michigan, Ohio State, which I'm expecting to get, which is going to be crazy.
Let me ask you a
Really
question.
big chance for Ryan Day. I mean, Ryan Day, you had people calling for his head. Now he squeaks back in.
Yeah, I
And,
mean, he has a chance to prove himself here. I mean, this
yeah, I
is
mean, obviously that first, I believe it was his first year with Justin Fields. They go to the college football
yeah,
playoff, beat
short
Clemson
season.
in one of the most impressive quarterbacking performances I think I'd seen in college football.
Agreed.
Um, and then last year they lose to Michigan, and you lose to Michigan again. But now if you have the chance to beat Michigan, I mean, this is the one that, obviously that one matters, but this is like if you win this one, you have,
Yeah,
the big last laugh, and you can't erase those 2 losses from the last 2 years, but like it would do a lot
yeah.
to
Like
keep his
mitigate.
job. I think, I mean, he's got a huge opportunity here. This Ohio State team, and this is where it gets interesting. And this is, you know, I think Michigan's really good, and their defense is spectacular. The running game is spectacular. We saw JJ McCarthy in that Ohio State game. He was fantastic. It gets interesting because I think if Ohio State gets guys like Jackson Smith and Jigba and Trevion Henderson back, like that offense is like
Mm-hmm.
arguably the best in the country. Um, it's going to be really interesting, and that's where you know I would favor Michigan still. But at the end of the day, like Ohio State, let's say this team does beat Michigan, I think they're the one team in the tournament that would have a chance, a slim chance against Georgia, just because of that offense. And I think they're the only ones that would
That would,
maybe be able to crack through.
that,
But their defense is really suspect, and I think that's going to really hurt them.
yeah,
And it very well might be the same result. I mean, Michigan has ran over them 2 consecutive games over the last 2 years, and Blake Corum's not going to be playing, but it didn't matter in the
yeah.
game
I
this
mean,
season. So
Donovan.
we're going to really see Donovan Edwards. Yeah, I mean, he was a star, and it's going to be interesting though because they're going to be able to make adjustments with the same roster. It's going to be really interesting to see how that game goes.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason I wanted to see USC actually squeak it out last night because I really did want to see a healthy Caleb Williams matched up against that Georgia defense. But yeah, I mean, I think Georgia's the heavy favorite going into
Yeah,
this. But if I had to say, I'd probably take Michigan again in a rematch. Although I think it'll be a very close game, much closer than the last time.
yeah,
Um, the thing about I do want to touch on expansion really quickly because I think it's always important to talk about this. Like, I understand. I was saying that this is another thing we were talking about off air before, but I just think I don't know. 12 teams is way too much to me. Way too much. Are like we're having trouble finding 4 worthy teams this year. And people will say, "Oh, it's reason for expansion," but I disagree. There are only 2 teams worth anything this year in the regular season that showed you, especially if they both win tonight. And I'm sorry to say, but but Michigan and Georgia, I think, are so clearly the two superior teams to everyone else in the country during the regular season.
Yeah.
And next year you're going to muddle the waters with 12 teams. I don't get that. I don't. It'll be fun from my perspective. It'll be fun from a viewer's perspective. And Griffin obviously brought up the point that he would rather see, which I love, the FCS format of actually hosting playoff games at home field, which I would love. I would love to see that. I think that would be great. And the other FCS thing is they only have 8 teams in the playoffs. If they were going to copy and they wanted to expand, but they have 16 and then they cut it down to 8, but it's like the 8 teams get it's a weird format in the FCS. But like,
Yeah.
I would just do what they do. Like, if you're going to expand the playoffs, 12 is such an odd number to me. Like, and I think this is a kind of year that proves it. Let's do currently the number 12 ranked team in the country is. Sorry. I don't know off the top of my head.
Probably like Kansas State.
Like Florida State and Washington. Why do I need to see Florida State get destroyed by Ohio State or Michigan? I don't need to see that.
Yeah. It's really interesting. It's definitely, I think 12 is too much. To me, 8 was the number. If they were going to expand, which I don't think I think expansion's fine. I think it makes it more interesting, allows more teams. It is. I do understand the point where having the same 4 teams play every year, it does like get a little annoying, and you don't love it. So introducing like 4 more teams where there's you get more people involved and it generates more hype, even if it just ends up being the same kind of teams in the final. I would be on board for that, but 12 teams is just too much for me. Like you said, like it's just there's just going to be a huge like range of talent, and there's going to be years where there's upsets. Don't get me wrong. Like we're going to see like I do think sometimes like these 10 or 12 seeds are like better than these rogue like Cincinnati or like a TCU team that we see. Like I do think it'll be interesting, but like I just think 12 is a little too much. I would personally prefer 8. I think 8 would be really interesting, especially this year. I think 8 would be fantastic. Looking at like you had USC, Alabama in there, maybe Tennessee, LSU potentially, like teams like that. I think this year 8 would be super interesting. So I think 8's a great number. Obviously, they're going with 12, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, like you said, like the home playoff games is going to be awesome, and I understand it's a money making thing. I understand that the semi and finals should be probably in a neutral spot, but I don't know. I think the home playoff games is pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll definitely talk about once we get the official bracket. I guess it'll be next. Is the selection show tomorrow? Or is it next weekend?
No,
tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
So next week, we'll definitely break it down, and obviously there's going to be a month or so until the game's about New Year's Eve. So, but yeah, college football playoff, definitely a crazy weekend. Good for the Buckeyes, and yeah. So moving on, we're going to talk some World Cup, soccer on this podcast. That's a first, but obviously today didn't go the United States way. They were eliminated in the round of 16 after a 3-1 loss to the Netherlands. Really tough game, to be honest. I mean, you have Christian Pulisic, within the first 2 minutes, really having a wide open shot. U.S. had so many chances throughout this game. And the Netherlands, just 3 goals where, their guys were essentially wide open and uncontested. Yeah. Can't blame it on Matt Turner. He had a great run in this tournament. Your thoughts on the run of the United States? I mean, they had some really good games. Obviously, the tie against England, the win against Iran. They only lost 1 game in the 4 games they played. It was a really, really strong performance, and a bright future, hopefully, for 2026 when it's actually in the States.
No, look, I agree with you 100%, Griff. The midfield is really strong. I mean, Adams, McKinney, and Musa really they showed up in every game they played. I mean, the U.S. is almost 60% of the ball today. They created more chances. The defending from the United States is just atrocious. The guys are just not up to quality back there. Tim Ream and Walker Zimmerman they're just not up to par with the rest of the team. They're not. These are the rest of these guys. I understand that Tim Ream obviously plays for Fulham, but in England. But look, the defensive partnership is just not up to par with the rest of the team. The U.S. played well today. like you said, obviously they missed the Netherlands took their chances and we missed them. Like, but I think overall we were in that game with them. I
Yeah.
really do. We couldn't shoot the whole tournament. We couldn't finish the whole tournament. We scored 3 times in 4 games. It's not not gonna cut it sometimes. And I think, like I said, I just think that the defensive partnership was so bad today. Because I think the midfield, but I'm very optimistic for 2026 if they can really develop some center backs, because that midfield, all age 23 and under, has a very bright future. All guys that are going to be playing at, 2 guys that already are playing. Well, they're all playing in top level European clubs. McKennie obviously at Juventus, but these are all going to be guys that are going to be among the best in the world. Adams, McKennie, and Musa. Like, these are legit stars combined with some, Giovanni Reina was a player I would have liked to see a little more of. Obviously, he has a massive injury.
From right by me. He's like basically from my hometown.
Really?
Bedford, New York. Yeah.
Yeah. Giovanni Reina, obviously, he's the most talented American soccer player maybe ever, but he can't stay healthy. The guy got transferred to Dortmund at 17. He just can't stay healthy. It's unfortunate. And obviously, you would have liked to see him more this tournament. And the U.S. needs a striker. Haji Wright, I understand. Look, great effort. You're not a World Cup quality striker. We need to develop a 9, and we need a new center back pairing. And I think, I really do believe that we'll be able to compete once we get them, because I think I've criticized Greg Berhalter, obviously the U.S. coach, plenty of times, but I didn't think the game plan was bad at all today. I really think that center back partnership let them down.
Yeah, I mean, guys were just wide open in the box, and I mean, especially that goal at the end of the first half. I mean, they were just walking. I mean, I get guys are tired, but you have 1 minute in stoppage time. Like, yeah, that can't happen. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, this team just had an inability to score, and that was the problem. Like, once they went down even like 1-0 today, it was like, oh
Yeah,
crap,
right.
like, this is going to be like really tough to get the win, especially 2-0. It was like, even with all the chances they were getting, and there was just times in this tournament where there was just an inability to shoot. Like, they just could not pull the trigger in. And
Agreed.
we saw we saw Tim Weah today just pulled the trigger on that shot. Fires one in. Obviously, it gets saved, but like I liked when him or like Pulisic would just shoot the ball. Like, even if you're like missing, it's just like.
The problem is they just, like I was saying, they don't have a decisive number 9. They don't have a striker. They need a top quality striker, because the U.S. teams have made runs in the past, but you have guys who are like among, like, this midfield. I'm telling you, they can base a generation's worth of success off of this midfield. They are legit players. These guys are insanely talented teams. They're valued highly by clubs around the world, not just Americans. Like, when you have a midfield like this, you can't fumble this, and you need to find a number 9. The U.S. soccer development needs to be committed to finding a striker, because I think we'll be able to eventually find a center back pairing, but a number 9 would have made such a huge difference in this tournament, because there were a lot of good passages of play from the United States, but they just couldn't finish at the end of the day, like we've been saying.
Yeah, I mean, there was so many chances today, especially. I mean, it was just really tough. I mean, the Netherlands are a great team. Obviously, you got Virgil van Dijk in the backfield. Frankie De Jong. I mean, the names go on, even for the casuals like myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was going to always be a tough one. I think it's at least positive that they made it to the round of 16. And that you got to take a positive out of it. I do think 2026, that's going to really be this team's chance. Yeah, because at that point, this team is very young, so they're all going to be basically still in their prime then.
Third youngest team at the World Cup, so that's another.
Yeah, exactly. So next 2026 is going to be their best shot, and then obviously after that 2030, they'll probably still be good, but 2026 is when it's really going to be their best shot. I mean, today, just the right side of the field to me is just like so much better with like Tim Weah and Serginho Dest. Like, those guys are just miles above what's his name on the left. I mean, that guy
Anthony Robinson. Is that you're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he's anything special, to be honest. I mean, he didn't really show. I feel like whenever he had the ball, it was just like,
it's funny.
Well. Yeah. I mean, he's a fine player, but like, I think what we saw from guys like, Serginho Dest or Tim Weah was just way above his play. He's not a bad player, but.
No, yeah. I mean, those are top level guys. I think like you're hitting on a rounder point, which is like the U.S. does have these top guys now that are competing at the top level, but the goal is to get the whole team that's playing at, like, to have a full team of guys that are playing at that level. And obviously, Anthony Robinson is a player for Fulham, but like to me, like when you would bring on like Shaq Moore or like this Walker Zimmerman and stuff, like stop with the MLS guys. Play guys that play in Europe. Play guys that play against these players at the top level. Like stop with the MLS stuff. That's what I have to say.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting. Also, shout out to Matt Turner, man. He had an incredible tournament.
He did a great
He's
tournament.
really a great goalie, and today was 0% his fault.
Yeah,
He had that great sequence with the 2 saves. That was pretty crazy.
yeah, it was.
But yeah, World Cup still going on. Argentina advanced to the round of 8
Yep, on the back of the
quarterfinals. Yeah, Lionel Messi. Crazy that was his or Ronaldo's first goal in like a quarterfinal.
Yeah, in
or
a World Cup.
like a
yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah, I mean it's hard, man. And he's still the craziest part is that he's still like top 10 all time in World. He scored 9 goals at the World Cup still.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. Now moving on to a tougher subject. Big MLB news yesterday. Jacob deGrom signing a 5-year, $185 million deal with the Texas Rangers. deGrom obviously had been a Met for life, when healthy, widely considered the best pitcher in baseball. Crazy. I mean, I really thought that Jacob deGrom was going to stay. I think it's clear that he wanted to leave and was going to leave no matter what after, what you hear, and Mets didn't really get a chance to match the offer, and it's tough. For the Mets, obviously this is heartbreaking, especially for the fans. I mean, this has been it's tough to really picture him pitching as a Texas Ranger. And I mean, to me, like, he's just going to kind of be irrelevant down there. Like, it's kind of weird. I mean, your thoughts on...
Sorry, this has been the quote for Mets fans. Oh, he's going to go down there and win 70 games now. But like, Griff, what are your thoughts? I feel like I've seen a little bit too much like disrespect from Mets fans on like social media. Like,
I don't think there's any disrespect. I think it's just like, I think everyone like loves. I think they're just like, it's like heartbreak. Like it's like your girlfriend broke up with you. Like it's just like, why? Like what? Like why are you doing this? Like this is just like, I don't know. To me, and look, he's very rightful for going after the money after that last contract. I know he wasn't happy with it. It didn't really work out his way. He's going to go to a spot where whatever the income tax or whatever state tax is lower, closer to home, which like, I mean, it's Texas and Florida. To me, that's not like right next to each other, but okay. Yeah, I mean, look, he got the best deal for himself. Like the Mets were not going to do 5 years. I don't think the Mets should have done 5 years as much as I want to keep him. Like being like looking at the situation, looking at its history, 5 years at that AAV would have been very risky. And, the Mets didn't even get a chance to match it. It seemed like their offer was like 3 for 120. But, Jacob deGrom will, he's just one of those guys that you would hope would be a Met for life, and you'd build a statue for like next to Seaver. And yeah, I mean, he willingly chose to leave, which I think is, Seaver got traded. He wanted to be a Met. deGrom just willingly left, which I think will always, I don't think Mets fans will have any, it's just tough because the team right now, you understand he's been through so many like terrible years with the Wilpons and, had nothing during his, Cy Young seasons. And, now this team's 101 win team, ultimate budget, and, he just leaves. So definitely heartbreaking. Crazy though. I mean, what are your thoughts on the Texas Rangers after this move? I mean, they got some good young pitching in the pipeline, but
they do. Obviously, they have leader in Kumar coming up, but Kumar and deGrom. If I told you they'd be on the Rangers and not the Mets sometime, your face would have been looking pretty confused. But yeah, look, I'm happy the guy's out of the. I'll start out with my thoughts on deGrom first, but I think I'm happy the guy's out of the division. I'm so happy the guy's out of the division. Of course, we can't escape him because we're opening our series at Globe Life next year, but the season of Globe Life next year. But yeah, look, I think that the Rangers are a good path. Like, obviously they have Bruce Bochy now, but like there's a lot. They have a lot of work to do. They have a lot of work to do. Look, they're in a good spot though. They're in a much better spot because I don't know if you remember like the Texas Rangers at this time, like 18 months ago, like. They were in a bad spot. They really were. I mean, they're spending a ton of money. They have to because they're the Texas Rangers. But like, deGrom will probably suffer some 70 to 80 win seasons, which is not something he's not used to. But look, they have a lot of young talent coming up. I think it's going to be a little while before they're actually like a sustainable playoff team. And I think it sucks that they have to compete against two. I'm going to say two. I'm going to be a little generous to the Seattle Mariners here. Two, I think, future perennial playoff teams. So another trade, by the way, Colton Long is a Seattle Mariner now with Jesse Winker, obviously going back to the Brewers. But yeah, I mean, I think the Rangers are good. I don't think that they're ready to compete with the top dogs of the AL by any means, but they need a lot more help on the pitching staff, a lot more help. And you have to hope that at least one of those two major guys will be able to come through for them.
Yeah, I mean, this team is very far away from being good, which is, I think it's clear that like Jacob deGrom, didn't care about winning. That wasn't like one of the, like he didn't, he wasn't focused on getting a ring, which is fine. Like if that's, I'm not going to fault him for taking the most money. Yeah, this team is not good. I mean, they're still not good. Like Jacob deGrom, if he gives you a full 32 starts, you're going to be a lot better than you were. But at the end of the day, like, who does this team have in the bullpen? Who does this team have in the rest of the rotate? I mean, they have Martin Perez, but like John Gray, that guy sucks. Like,
Right, that's what
I
I'm saying.
mean,
Two guys, that's
like
it.
the rest, like you have Seager and Simeon, but like Simeon kind of already's taken a downturn, and Seager had a good year, but like who else? Adolis Garcia is like pretty good, but like there's just no like there's no one, and it's like you got the pitchers, but like and then like Jace Jung, but like who else? It's like there's no one. Like there's just
Personally, I'll always root for them to be bad because of their shitty camera angle at the stadium.
oh my god.
Yeah, that's it. When the Phillies played there last year, like you would think it's not only because it's not only the mound. It's like you think a ball is club 600 feet, and then it's like a routine flat. Like it's so.
I really don't like that stadium. I don't think it like looks very. I'm sure like the concourse and stuff is like really nice, but like the actual field is just like weird. I don't really like it, to be honest. Like I don't know. I mean, real quick, talking about the Mets. I mean, obviously they're gonna go spend that 40 million that they offered him. I would be I'd be surprised if they didn't end up with a Verlander or a Rodon.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, Verlander and Scherzer in a Mets rotation. If you told me that Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer would be heading a rotation for the Mets, I would have told you that they would be like 47 years old and just like Wilpon days, like just way out of their prime. But yeah, I mean, this is the Mets have a lot of work to do, obviously, and I think this is good for them that he was kind of the first domino in the pitching market to fall, which I think is good. It sucks, obviously, the whole thing sucks, but if that's good, at least that like all their other options for the most part are still on the board and that they can pivot to those guys and now, put maybe more intent than they did before. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the Mets right now and what you think they need to do?
I'm gonna ask you a question: Is would you prefer Rodon or Verlander? Obviously, I understand it's bad, but the only thing about that is it's very risky to have both Verlander and Scherzer. I feel like on two
Yeah.
massive contracts at the same time. So, but speaking from a Mets perspective, who would you rather go with?
It's really tough because I think deGrom getting 5 years means Carlos Rodon's going to be looking for like 6, 7 years,
Yes.
which is like crazy. And I'd probably rather go with Justin Verlander on like a 3 year or 2 year deal or something. He's going to get three, so it's going to be a three, like a Scherzer deal, I guess. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's like really annoying because it's like Carlos Rodon is a great pitcher, but like he's had a very bad injury history. He's had 1.5 good seasons. Not saying that's not going to continue, but giving a guy like that like 7 years at like 35 million or some crazy AAV is just like I just don't know how I feel about that. I think Justin Verlander, I mean, he just had a Cy Young season. Like at the end of the day, this guy's still pitching at the top of his game.
Yeah.
I think a shorter term deal is probably better. I think right now that the Mets are in a bad spot in terms of starting pitching depth in the minor leagues. Like they really are thin there. And, deGrom, he marks the end of the five aces era
Yeah.
For the Mets. But that was like 2015, like this team just had so much young pitching in the system. And now there's just like that's the problem. Like there's really no one, and that's their problem right now because you've got Bassett, that's a free agent, Walker, deGrom just left, so like you have all these guys, then you're going to have to sign at least 2 guys. You really need to sign like Verlander, I think. Yeah, there's my answer. Like Justin Verlander, I think, just because of the short term. And I think like 7 years at a high AAV for like Rodon is just like, I don't know. I just don't think that's going to be a good idea for the Mets.
Yeah, like you said, I'm in agreement. I think the concerns about Verlander's age are a little overstated. Like, I think a lot of people are like just getting a
Him
bad
and
taste.
Scherzer are like they're just different, and that's what people need. Like it's definitely I don't want to have 2 40-year-olds at the top of my rotation, but like these guys are still like when Scherzer's playoff start and the Brave start was like disaster, but
Yeah,
everything else up to that point was like incredible, like 2 ERA. Like this guy's still the best,
obviously.
one of the best.
No, yeah, sure. And I think it's the same thing with Verlander, actually. I think
Yeah,
Verlander obviously was pretty freaking good in his last postseason start. I saw it in person, actually, but like he was pretty like mediocre
yeah.
to bad all playoffs long. So I think it's left a
I
lot
think
of
he was definitely still dealing with some injury. Not trying to make excuses, but like he was probably banged up a little bit, which
no,
is concerning.
most definitely. And I think it's left a bit bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. And like this guy is still Justin Verlander at the end of the day. This guy just had his best career season at 39 years. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd go with Verlander if I were him. But I think like I don't like this whole notion from Mets fans though that it's like, oh yeah, like it's like by deGrom, like we won't miss you, like bro, like come on, like this guy's like,
I don't know who's saying that's like
I'll see
crazy.
like it's like there's like this whole section of like Mets Twitter. I'll text you later. I'll like send you some links later that I was like
Yeah.
seeing last time, but I'm sure it's just like the
No,
bottom that scrape. I'm
yeah.
sure I'm just like, scraping the bottom of the barrel here. But look, I think the Mets will be fine because their owner has the deepest pockets, maybe besides obviously the Dodgers owners, and even deeper than that, really, in Major
Yeah,
League
I think
Baseball.
he's
But
I mean they're
in
the same
terms
tier.
of spending,
They'll both spend whatever it
yeah,
takes.
exactly. So like, I think they'll never truly be in a bad spot for a while. But like, yeah, I think it's just more even like symbolic than anything else that Jacob deGrom is no longer a Met. It's just a pretty crazy thing to think about. I feel like to actually like when he's going to go out there. I hope the guy stays healthy, but I I don't know. Let's see how many. If he can give you, like you said, 32 starts, I think that the Rangers have an interesting year next year. But when's the last time that happened? So
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's just like they're just one of those teams too. Like, KFC Barstool, who's a big Mets fan that I do like, listening to, his podcast and the rest of it. Um, he pointed out like the Texas Rangers, like no one's really like focusing on them, which is what I think deGrom wants. Like, I think deGrom was done with the New York media. I think he just wants to be in like a low key spot. He's not getting asked about his injuries. He's not getting asked about, every little thing. Like, I think he just wanted. I think Jacob deGrom was done with New York. I think he was done with the Mets. Um, yeah, I think he just wanted to move on, and that's that. At the end of the day, like it is what it is. It sucks. I'm gonna miss him. I'll always have tons of memories from Jacob deGrom, but gotta move on. And the Mets. I mean, to me is like okay. Now you got to get Brandon Nimmo back, like 100% though. Like I think like you go get Verlander, but
Yankees
you
are
also have
looking
to
out.
get Nimmo back.
Yankees, the Yankees are taking a look at Brandon Nimmo. So
Well,
it's
I think that's like a Judge consolation type
yeah.
deal. The plan is with winter meetings coming up, we're gonna try and do a MLB free agency predictions meeting predictions episode this week. Um, so yeah, stay tuned for that. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of MLB action in this next week or two. It's already kind of heating up. People are starting to fall. Brian Reynolds requested a trade today. It
Yeah.
doesn't seem like Pirates were kind of like, yeah, no, but yeah, we'll see. We'll keep you all updated on the latest. We are going to pivot though
Pirates, poor Pirates
to,
fans. Sorry.
oh my God. We're going to pivot to the NFL. Week 13 now. Pretty good week of football last week.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
quickly looking at some of the scores. We already talked about Thanksgiving. Mike
We're
White,
talking about
baby.
sorry, let
Look,
me talk about the Commanders Falcons game just really
yeah.
quickly. Like the Falcons are just finding new ways to lose, man. They're inventing new ways to lose. The goal line tip interception, just like, and look, the Commanders are on the way up, but like that NFC South division, the winner's gonna have like 7 wins. The winner in that division is gonna finish on like 7 wins. That's all I wanted to say. But like That was just a hilarious game to see. But were you about to talk about the Broncos, the awfulness of the Denver Broncos
I mean,
there?
we can talk about the Broncos. Yeah, this at this point, like, I don't even care to talk about it. Like, it's just like they suck. They're just really banged up. Is also the problem. I mean, they have like league leading number of guys on IR. I think like 15 now.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, no, it is ridiculous.
like, look, like this team obviously has been hurt by injuries, but at the same time, like they're not performing. But like, look at the guys who are catching passes here. Like outside of Cortland Sutton, like it's really bad. So,
I don't know.
um,
Greg Dulcich kind of reminds me of a young Travis Kelsey. You don't think?
yeah. Um, Obviously Nathaniel Hackett, I mean, almost like surely going to be fired at this point.
Yeah.
He has no idea what he's doing, just a fish out of water. Yeah, I mean, Panthers suck. Sam Darnold, good for him at least getting a win.
Deontay was a
Um,
beast.
yeah, he's been playing well. Moving on.
That's
The Jets, man, Mike White. I mean, it's just such a difference from Zach Wilson. I mean, Zach Wilson, I could have told you this 2 years ago that something like this was going to happen. I mean, I don't want to like, it's just frustrating when the Jets, I mean, you look at the last two quarterbacks they've picked and the guys they could have had, and it's just like, to me, like the first draft, I don't even blame them for taking Darnold, but this one, it's like Justin Fields, like that was like the right pick. That was like, there's just no reason to not take Justin Fields there. And everyone in the NFL like started overthinking it. I mean, imagine the San Francisco 49ers right now with Justin Fields as their
yeah.
quarterback. I mean, like,
And
eh,
obviously Trey Lance. Poor Trey Lance has gotten. He
yeah,
just
he hasn't gotten a chance to prove himself, but like we don't really know what. I mean, in the games he's played, it's been, but like we still have to see it from him. But like,
Trey Lance still the jury's still out on him.
yeah, but Justin Fields, I mean, obviously he didn't play this game. You had Trevor Siemian, who got hurt, is now out for the season, but it seemed like we would get a Nathan Peterman start, which would have been fun. But yeah, Mike White, great game, and Garrett Wilson, man, like this guy is gonna be a superstar.
Yeah,
Someone asked me the other day, like, if you could do the Tyreek Hill trade right now, like, would you do it? And Garrett Wilson was the pick they had, and it was like a very interesting question, knowing you'd have to pay Tyreek all that money. Obviously, Tyreek is sensational, but it's really interesting. I don't know what I would do. I
we're
think having
talking
those
about
picks would.
Tyreek. Listen, I love Garrett Wilson. I do. I think he's going to be a great wide receiver in this league. But we're talking about Cheetah here. We're talking about Tyreek Hill. We're not
No,
talking
I
about.
know, but like it
Not
is
even
an
talking,
interesting thing with the Jets because especially if they're gonna have to go spend money on a quarterback, it's an interesting what if kind of scenario. But Garrett Wilson's really good. Elijah Moore, it was good to see him get the ball. He was really, having
like
some
right?
funny comments after the game
Yeah.
about,
I
calling the
don't get it.
ball and
How does Zach Wilson like go back into the locker? Does he look any of those guys in the eyes? Because they're talking about like the way that they're talking about him is like how like the Thunder would even talk about like KD after like he left. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, like we're having so much more fun in the locker room now," or like whatever, or like when like they're talking about him like he's gone. Like this guy is still in the locker room every week. This guy is still sitting on the sideline. Like he must not have a single friend on that team because nobody is standing up. Listen, I don't feel bad for him because I think he's kind of a smug asshole. And I think, like, here's the thing. I think almost certainly, if he doesn't make that no comment about whether he felt he let the defense down, I think that there's a chance he would have started this game this week.
yeah,
And
I think so
I,
too.
I think he blew a massive opportunity because this is the league's worst defense by a pretty wide margin, the Chicago Bears. He blew a massive opportunity. He really did.
Yeah. I
And
think he would have played. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
and look, Mike White he was great. Listen, not taking anything away from Mike White. He was fantastic. He was accurate. He got the ball everywhere. And I think the most important thing was that Mike White did this in shitty conditions. Zach Wilson
Yeah.
was playing the win, and Mike White played in worse weather than Zach Wilson did. So
Okay.
that took away his excuse. But I think if Zach Wilson had just taken responsibility, been a leader like a Justin Fields or a Jalen Hurts, then I think guess what? I think he might have started this game. And I think the Chicago Bears defense gives up big games to quarterbacks for fun. I think he had a chance to really save his job and he blew it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Mike White got the job done, and like you said, like guys like Justin Fields, man. I mean, he comes up a lot, but like you hear the story of him like
Yeah,
going in the locker room and being like, "Yeah, I'm so sorry, guys. Like that's on me," and he's playing like with a cooked shoulder. Where I love how the coach was like, "Yeah, he's 100% good to go," and he has like torn ligaments just like everywhere in that shoulder
Yeah.
right now. It's just like, oh my God, these people are crazy. Um, yeah, the Jets, I mean, they're in a good spot to make the playoffs for the first time in a while. So, we'll see. Obviously, this is Mike White's train. And, I think Mike White should probably be the quarterback for the rest of the season. Then the Jets are probably going to have to look outside the organization. I mean, I just don't think there's any way you can like confidently be like, yeah, Zach Wilson's still our guy with what you've seen. I mean, there's just been no improvement. Mike White, I think it was like Zach Wilson in like 7 games threw for 4 touchdowns, and then Mike White today threw in this game 3 for 3. Like,
Yeah.
big difference. And I know it's against the Bears, so we'll see what happens this week, obviously, but just a different offense. Imagine if they had Brees Hall and AVT and Mekhi Becton, man. I
I
mean,
mean, AVT is their best. AVT is their best player,
yeah,
and
literally.
Quinnen Williams. That
He's
guy's
the
like
guy.
that guy's going to be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. I think Micah Parsons is going to win it, but that guy is certainly
Yeah.
almost certainly going to be in depoy conversations.
He's having a great year. Cleveland Browns, we'll talk about them more, with their game this week. We'll talk about the Jags real quick, and then, I think after this, we'll just pivot to the predictions this week. I'm worried about the Ravens, I'll be honest. Like, I think this team is just screwed. Like, I'll be honest. We kind of talked about it last week. Like, this team really does not have the weapons to succeed, and we're seeing that. Like look at their leading receivers, man. Josh Oliver, 35-year-old Deshaun Jackson. Like, this is bad. Like, these weapons are bad, and like this team has choked multiple games. Trevor Lawrence, what a performance. Zay Jones, going off. I mean, you have no ETN for essentially the whole game, and Trevor Lawrence goes out. This might have been his best performance in the NFL so far.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Not even close.
So
Trevor Lawrence.
I know you're a bigger Trevor guy than me. I kind of shit on him last week, so of course I have to eat my words this week. But yeah, I mean, what were your thoughts on this one?
No, yeah, I thought he was masterful today. I think I was getting a little worried about Trevor there. He is having a really bad stretch of 5 or 6 games, and he balled out, man. Like, he was picking them apart. He was perfect for the entire fourth quarter. He led 2 unbelievable drives. But like you said, I mean, the Baltimore Ravens are in a lot of trouble. They're putting far too much stress on Lamar Jackson for me. It's been the case for 3 years. Look, Lamar Jackson is an unreal player. He is. But he's not capable of doing what he's asked to do. I don't think anybody is, except I don't think anybody is capable of doing what Lamar Jackson is being asked to do. And he's not playing his best football. And I think it's a result of all this pressure on his shoulders. But look, the Ravens have been devoid of a real wide receiver since the 14-2 year, since the year that they lost to Tennessee at home in the playoffs. They didn't have enough receiving options, and they still don't. Mark Andrews is great.
They had one like good receiver, and they traded him.
They traded him, yeah, and they traded him. I mean, look, Rashad Bateman obviously is, it's been just unhealthy, and
he's like average though, if we're being honest here.
I mean, he's just
he's not moving the needle, but yeah, he would be an option at least.
The Ravens defense is also more than questionable. They completely collapsed. Obviously, Trevor was surgical. He really was, but they were terrible. And I think this was a really important game for Jacksonville, because I think earlier in the year, a lot of people were saying, oh, well, Jacksonville could even make a run at that last wild card spot or something along those lines. But they were on a downward trend. And I think this was a huge win for Doug Peterson. I think this is the win of their season, seeing a game like this from Trevor Lawrence. They needed to see this once, and they did. Ideally, like for him to just keep this up for the rest of the way, but this is what the Jacksonville Jaguars wanted to see. This is what everybody expected to see from Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean, Jacksonville, you got to look at the positives. Obviously, this game, Travis Etienne's been incredible this year, so there is some positive. Obviously, there's still a lot of work to do, and the one thing with Jacksonville, I will say, with all those moves they made last offseason, like they're in kind of a rough spot with cap, or they're just not in they're not going to have. This is a team where you'd want to have the offseason you had last year, that money now, but obviously, you don't. So we'll see. Moving on, we'll predict the games for this week. A good amount of teams are on bye, so we're going to start off Packers, Bears. Justin Fields, like we just said, good to go. Aaron Rodgers also going to be playing in this one. Who do you got?
I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears here. I think these teams are both really bad, but I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna go with the Chicago Soldier Field advantage. Look, I understand that the owner of the Chicago Bears is coming into town, but he's banged up to say the least. He is not Aaron Rodgers of the last 2 years due to those injuries. But yeah, and for that reason, I'm just gonna go with Chicago. That Packers defense is maybe the worst in the 363 yards they allowed on the ground last week. That's like that's like some 50s and 60s numbers. So I think it's a bad mixture with what the Bears' few strengths. So I'm gonna go with the Chicago Bears here.
I'm gonna go with the Packers. Chicago, they just lost Darnell Mooney for the season. Eddie Jackson, I think, is out for the season now too, or out for like 4 to 6 weeks or something like that. Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears. Christian Watson's been playing really well. Aaron Jones had a good game last week. And offensively, like they put up 33 points against the Eagles. Like that was a good performance. Defensively, it was a disaster, but you're playing the Bears. Like the Bears are and the Eagles are not the same offensively. So I think they'll still be able to find success. Jordan Love, pretty solid performance last week when he got in the game. I don't really understand why they don't just put him in at this point. I mean, maybe one more loss and they'll pull him, but I don't know. I'd give him a shot at this point. Like you want to see at least what this guy you picked in the first round has for you. So I don't know, but yeah, I'm going with the Packers. I think the Bears are, terrible outside of Justin Fields, who somehow brings them, not somehow brings them in games just because of how good he is, but he's also going to be banged up in this one. He's not 100% despite what the coach may be saying.
Yeah.
Steelers Falcons. I'm going to pick the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. This football team's been playing pretty well recently. Kenny Pickett, he's been fine. He's kind of just doing what he's doing, and this defense is playing well. And Atlanta is just, I don't think they're a very good football team. They're just leaning on the run, and
Yeah, they need to replace
Tyler Algier and Cordell Patterson. Like, there's nothing special there. Mediocre line. Like, I don't know. I think this team has messed up getting the ball to Drake London and Kyle Pitts. Obviously, Kyle Pitts out for the season now, but getting the ball to those two guys all season, I don't understand why they haven't been giving them the ball more. But yeah, it's just the system. Mariota's still playing quarterback, which to me doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Some of these teams, man, it's just like the Steelers, they moved on and went to their young quarterback because they knew they were going to be bad. And Atlanta, sure you can make the playoffs, but like, come on, like this team sucks. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that Atlanta should not be starting Marcus Mariota at this point. I'm not really sure what they have to gain. Like you said, I guess they still think that they're in the NFC South division race, but Marcus Mariota cost them the game, cost them a crucial game last week for both the wild card and the division. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with the Pittsburgh Steelers here too. I think that they're playing with a little bit of momentum. Listen, I understand Kenny Pickett has three touchdowns to 8 interceptions, but I actually think he's been playing. I actually thought he played pretty well last week, personally.
Yeah.
But and yeah, I think they're going to keep up the momentum. The Falcons need to start Desmond Ridder, in my opinion.
Yeah, just see what he has at this point. I mean, it's these teams are just not doing the right thing. Jets Vikings. It's gonna be a good game. Jettis versus Sauce should be interesting. I'm gonna go with the Vikings though. I do think they are a better team than the Jets. The Jets, running back wise, James Robinson was inactive. I know last week, and he was upset about that, which is just like the dude's averaging like 3 yards a carry. He kind of needs to, be quiet. Zonovan Knight looked good, Bam Knight. But
everybody's like, who the hell? All these fantasy people are like, who the hell is Zonovan Knight? He's
yeah,
nowhere.
But yeah, I think the Jets. I think it's gonna be a close game. All Vikings games are, seem to be pretty close, but. Yeah, I just think, the way this Vikings team has played, and they've had some big defensive moments, but yeah, I mean, I think Jettis is just unstoppable right now, and Dalvin Cook is, he's been playing pretty well too. So, Kevin O'Connell's done a great job. I just think Minnesota is a better team than the Jets right now. So at home, I'll give the Vikings the win.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Vikings here too, who I actually don't think are that good, but I think it's just gonna be a tough for like a. I look, Mike White was good last week, he really was, but I think it's gonna be tough for him against like a real NFL defense. Unfortunately, sorry, Chicago Bears. I'm sorry you had to catch a stray there, but your defense is beyond awful. I mean,
Yeah,
the Vikings really only have the only competent defense in the NFC North, but. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go with the Vikings here. I think it'll be tough for the Jets to pull out a win on the road there, but like you said, I think it'll be really close. And I'll be rooting for your Jets this week to beat them. They
yeah,
give the Eagles a little bit of breathing room at the top of the conference. I think the Vikings are good. I think they got very lucky last week. That Hunter Henny or on Thursday night, right?
yeah.
No.
Thanksgiving. It was
Thanksgiving. Sorry.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So Thanksgiving messes up your perception of what games happen when. But yeah, I think they got very lucky on Thanksgiving because I think the Hunter Henry no touchdown call flipped the momentum of the game. Which was that a catch to you? That looked like a catch to me personally.
I don't know. It was interesting. It was very close, but
I think
I'm always
like
happy to see the Patriots get screwed
yeah,
over. So
right, yeah, right.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Vikings here. I hope they lose though.
Jags, Lions. Jamison Williams might play. He was activated off
Yes, he was.
IR today. So that's gonna be very interesting. I'm sure he's gonna be pretty limited, but regardless, I mean, the Detroit Lions got a lot of good young players to be really excited about. And I'm gonna pick them this week. This team, they lost to Buffalo on Thanksgiving. They've had a lot of time off now. Um, I think this team has been playing really well. I mean, they won the last 3 games before. Really close game with Buffalo. Offensively, Amon-Ra St. Brown has been incredible. Jared Goff, honestly, like people hate on this guy, but he's been getting the job done. Like, Jared Goff has not been too bad for them. Defensively, Aiden Hutchinson just won Rookie of the Month. Um, yeah, I really do think this Detroit team is on the up and up, and I think, good week for Jacksonville last week. We'll see if they can build on it. And but yeah, I'm gonna take the Lions at home. I think this team's just feisty and yeah, I like them.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Detroit Lions here as well. I think that they're
Well,
the
we know what that means, Rob.
yeah, I think that they're gonna lose, but I actually think that they're not that bad of a team to be honest. They gave the Bills a really good game last week.
Yeah.
They had a really they really got lucky to unlucky to lose that game, but yeah, I'm gonna go with the Lions over the Jaguars here. I think that these two teams are actually in pretty similar stages of where they are. I think the Lions have a little bit more pieces. They can run the ball really effectively. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Lions here.
Lions in a really good spot too with that Rams pick. I mean,
Yes.
they are. That's
Yeah.
going to be like top 3 pick probably.
Yeah. Especially Stafford shut down.
Yeah, I mean, all their guys are basically shut down. Like Donald, we might not see again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cup obviously not gonna play again.
yeah, he's done. Stafford's done. This is gonna be a good game. Titans Eagles. I mean, to me, this is just like, what's Derrick Henry gonna do in this game? Like, if they shut down Derrick Henry, this should be an easy Eagles win. A bad loss last week for Tennessee against the Bengals, though. What are your thoughts? I mean, I'm assuming you're gonna pick the Birds, but what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Birds here. Jordan Davis being back is absolutely massive for this apps. I can't overstate the importance of Jordan Davis being back. The Eagles have had, a big weakness over the past 2 weeks. It's been their run defense, obviously, ever since the big guy went out. It's come crashing down. It's really been shored up, obviously, with the additions of Limbaugh, Joseph, and Ndamukong Suh. But yeah, I think Jordan Davis coming back is really like the key addition. He's obviously was activated off IR today. He'll be back tomorrow. He's been a full participant in practice. I'm excited for him to be back. And our offense has just been, it was just clicking last week. Like Jalen Hurts is, I never thought that this guy would become this good. I thought he would take a step forward this year, but this guy has just become an absolute monster of a quarterback who he carries us at times, which is absolutely wild to say. I think the Titans are a good team. They play up to their competition all the time. They gave the Chiefs a really tough battle a couple weeks ago. But I just because of that addition of Jordan Davis back, helping to shore up their run defense against the King, I'm gonna go with the Eagles here.
I'm gonna go with the Titans. I don't think they lose back to back. Yeah, I think this team is just. I've said it before. I mean, they're just so well coached. I think Derrick
Vrabel's
Henry's
the
gonna
best.
have a.
I think Vrabel is an argument for best coach in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I
Absolutely,
mean he's yeah. The
absolutely.
fact that this team, I mean, you look at their roster and it's just like you underestimate them every year, and then every year they're at the top
Yeah,
of the
every year they're
division,
8 and
top of the
4, right?
league.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, really, it just shows it's a testament to Mike Vrabel. Obviously, Derrick Henry really helps, but like Mike Vrabel does an incredible job. Everyone buys into it. I think this is gonna be a really good game. This isn't discrediting the Eagles. I think this is just one of those games where Titans just have a good game plan. They're gonna fight hard, and one little mistake from Jalen Hurts might do it in this one. So I'm gonna go with the Titans. Should be a very good game though. Eagles at home, it's tough to bet against, but I don't know. Try and spice it up a bit, and you know, I just like the way the Titans have been playing. This one's gonna be very interesting.
Yeah,
Season debut of Deshaun Watson
yeah.
in Houston.
And
10
this game
of
is about a
the
lot more. This game is a lot, a lot more than football. There are going to be
oh
a
yeah,
ton of emotions.
10 of the accusers of Deshaun Watson will be
Will be
at the
that.
game, which to me
Yeah,
is very interesting. I'm not quite sure. I don't know. It a little weird, but
yeah.
um,
I mean, I'll start out with the actual football part of this game, but I think the Browns obviously win because the Texans don't really have a
yeah,
quarterback, to be honest. So, but like, yeah, I mean, they're gonna lose. They're gonna pick Bryce Young with the first overall pick this year, would be my guess.
mhm.
Would you agree with that? That's probably the Texans' likely course of action.
Yeah. Unless CJ Stroud goes out and just has a killer playoff and they win the national championship because he's just like on another level.
Well, what they would really like to do is pick Will Anderson, get the number one pick again next year, and then pick Caleb Williams. But it's so hard to guarantee that you're going to be the worst team in the NFL 2 years in a row. Really, unless you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, of course. Who have we heard anything about Trayvon Walker?
He had, I think, like a pick the first week, and that was about it. Yeah,
Like, have we heard anything about this guy? Aiden Hutchinson has obviously been a beast, but
they
he,
messed that pick up. I mean, that
I
was
would have
bad.
taken. I would have taken. I know he's been a little banged up and not there, but I still might have taken Kayvon up there. But like, who was? But look, I think the Browns are in an interesting spot because that one last year, like they're still in position. I'm just gonna whisper, but they're still in position to sneak into the playoffs here. They are like, and
What's
I
their schedule rest of the year? Let's see. Texans, Bengals, Ravens, Saints, Commanders, Steelers. I
yeah,
mean, realistically, like
yeah. I
they
mean,
should win 4 of those games.
yeah. I mean, obviously the game in the bang. Yeah, no, I
And
agree.
they've kind of owned the Bengals the last few years.
Yeah, so that would take them to 8 and 9. I don't know if that would get them in if they won 4 games.
Nah, probably not.
So they probably need to go. They probably need to go like 5-1 the rest of the way to have a chance. Which I
Wait,
don't.
no, yeah, if they win 5 games, maybe.
Yeah, but look, I'm gonna go with the Cleveland Browns here.
Yeah,
The storyline is about number 4, Deshaun Watson tomorrow. So we'll see how he plays. Yeah, I mean, I it's just like Griffin said when the suspension came down. Couldn't be any more perfect for the National Football League. So yeah,
yeah. I mean, look for the Browns, like and Deshaun. This is the team you want to play against week one. I mean, or the first game he's going to start. Like this is just like a warm up almost for him, which is huge. That he doesn't kind of have to dive right into a really challenging test. Obviously, I think there's going to be some growing pains here. This guy hasn't played in 2 years. Obviously, the Browns are going to win this game, and the Browns offensively, with Jacoby Brissett, have been one of the best offenses in the NFL. Jacoby Brissett, like probably earned himself a starting job on like a bad team next year. Like he played very well for this Browns team. It's just their defense is just absolutely atrocious. I don't really know how Joe Wood still has a job. I mean this defense has been bad and has been choking leads for like years now, and yeah, I don't really know what is going on, but their defense is a disaster. I don't think they'll make the playoffs. Obviously, it's enticing with Deshaun. We'll see how this offense is. But Jacoby Brissett was playing pretty well, so we'll see what Deshaun does. Obviously, with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, it's a run first offense at the end of the day, even with Deshaun, I think. So Browns are going to win this game. It'll be very interesting to see how Watson plays, though. That's for sure.
yeah.
Commanders Giants. I'm going to pick the Washington Commanders here. The New York Giants have just not been falling apart, but
But falling
you know,
apart.
yeah, like they've just kind of come back down to reality. I think. Um, Yeah, the Commanders are playing well, man. They're beating every team that they play. Taylor Heinicke gets the job done. This defense has been playing really well. Brian Robinson running really hard, wearing his big hats. So it's been fun to watch. So yeah, I'm gonna pick the Commanders. The Giants are just, yeah, I don't know. They're having a really good year. Brian Daboll's an incredible coach, but I don't know. Their roster still has some work to do, and obviously there's a huge question at quarterback. With the future, what they're gonna do because they're not going to be in the spot to draft one of the top two guys, and there's a bunch of other guys. But what do you do? Do you try and go for like a veteran quarterback? It's gonna be very interesting to see what they do. But I'm picking the Commanders here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Commanders as well here. I think that the Giants have the potential to like really snowball and lose. Like, look at their schedule really quickly because I think they have I think that the Giants have the potential
They
to
have a tough schedule. Yeah, they play. I think
they play,
um,
yeah, they play
you
us.
twice, the Vikings, Commanders twice, and Colts.
Yeah, so I think that there's a chance that this team wins like one more game than the rest of the year. I think that they're about to really like snowball. And I think this is about to mark the end for Daniel Jones. Listen, I don't mean to be negative about the Giants because like even as an NFC East rival, the
No,
Giants have
this season was a win, no matter what happens.
the Giants have had a great year, but I think the Commanders are a more playoff ready team. I think they're more like the Commanders that a lot of people said that we were going to get at the beginning of the year, where they could compete for a wild card spot. And they're about to be 8-5 after this week, which is wild. I'm just going to take one more parting shot at Carson Wentz. The guy is cancerous. I understand that Heineke hasn't even been that much better than Wentz, but nobody wants to look to him as their leader. Nobody
Yeah.
sees him as a leader. No playoff team, no like it's 3 teams now where this has happened, where they've been shitty with like whatever. I mean, it's not a coincidence that this is the 3rd season out of a 6-season career for Carson Wentz where he's been replaced and his team improves.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously in 2017 the level, I can't say the team improved, but the level was maintained. But yeah, the Washington Commanders obviously getting Chase Young back. Their defense is actually starting. The problem with the Commanders is that everybody expected their defense to be unbelievable before the 2021 season. Jack Del Rio obviously had a lot of growing pains coordinating that defense, but they've been pretty excellent since this winning streak started. So yeah, I mean the Washington Commanders are in a good spot, and I think that they'll be firmly in playoff position by the end of the year.
Yeah, they'll be in the playoffs. Yeah, they're a solid team. Broncos, Ravens. I mean, I'm not even going to spend really any time breaking this down. I'm going to go with the Ravens.
Yeah,
Broncos are just screwed at this point. And, real quick, I mean, the stories about like Russell Wilson's like birthday party, like half the team showed up. Like, I think that was kind of ridiculous that started being like a
I think that
bad thing. Like, I don't even think that's like, like half the team is like, that's not,
so. I think there's something very interesting with Russell Wilson going on right now. I think a lot of people like. I think that there was such a small section of people pointing out like his corny antics, like for lack of a better, like his corny antics over there, like the "Let's Ride" thing, and then it sort of got to like a more mainstream population, if that makes sense. And now the
yeah,
jokes are just like overdone and like overused. Like I have an opinion. I don't think Russ is as bad as he's been showing this year.
yeah.
I think that they'll be better next year with a competent NFL head coach, but they're massively screwed. They are. Russell Wilson, I think, will be an average quarterback. I don't think he's this bad, but like, and they traded away all of their draft capital, all of their cap space for an average quarterback at the end of the day. Like they're in a bad spot. But yeah, like you said, I think that there's this massive overcorrection going on especially from not even like an ESPN, but like a Bleacher Report will post this like this stupid shit for like an example. And look, I've always been one to make fun of Russ over the years, but I think it's sort of like I think it's a little overdone at this point.
Yeah, he's getting like crucified. I mean, it's kind of it's almost sad to see. Like, I do feel bad for the guy. I mean, I think there's definitely some stuff that's come out where like it doesn't seem like he's the best teammate. It definitely seemed like there's a lot of stuff out there, but yeah, this guy's getting a lot of hate. That's probably not fully deserved. But yeah, you're picking the Ravens, I assume.
Yeah. The Ravens, yeah.
Yeah, Dolphins, 49ers. I like. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I've even with the Dolphins in this division, like I really enjoy Mike McDaniel. I mean, he might be my favorite person on planet Earth. Like, this guy is just like every clip that comes out every week is just like incredible. Like, this guy is quickly becoming one of the best head coaches in the NFL. I mean, him and Kevin O'Connell, like instantly top 10 coaches in the NFL, in my opinion. I mean, I think McDaniel probably above. I mean, McDaniel's just a great guy, and it's gonna be interesting. His homecoming this week. This is a game, man. Dolphins 49. This is a game. What are your thoughts?
I'm gonna go with the Dolphins here. I think that they have been well, also because I want the 49ers to keep losing. But but yeah, the Niners have obviously been on fire. I think that the Dolphins, I think that the Dolphins have a claim to the best team in the AFC. I really do.
Mhm.
I still think that personally the Chiefs and the Bills are better than them. But look, Tua is a different player. I was unconvinced the first few weeks of the year, but this guy is truly an excellent quarterback. And those rumors about Brian Flores hampering his development look to be accurate, and obviously helps that he's working with what looks to be a little bit of a
A
genius,
genius. Yeah.
a genius of the Shanahan tree. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Dolphins here. Hill and Waddle are tough to stop. Jeff Wilson Jr. scored a touchdown in his last every one of his last since homecoming for Jeff Wilson Jr. Let me start out with who's scored every game since he's been a Dolphin. So yeah, I mean, look, this is going to be a battle. I think that these are two of the top 5 teams in the NFL. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Dolphins here in the McDaniel and Jeff Wilson homecoming.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like Tua last year.
And Mostert. Sorry, both Dolphins running backs have a homecoming.
Mostert might is he out or is he
No,
playing?
I think he's going to end up. Is he going to end up playing?
I don't
I'm
know.
keeping him questionable to the very last minute.
Regardless, I mean, yeah, Tua, like I was, saying this guy was a bust last year, and like this guy's incredible. Like it's like almost like you got to start talking about like where he stands compared to Herbert now. I mean, it's pretty interesting. Like I still would probably choose Herbert, but like Tua's like really made a stride, and it's so happy for him, especially all that he's gone through this year with the concussion disaster. I mean, like you said, like Mike McDaniel, Brian Flores, when the Dolphins fired him, everyone was like, "Oh my God, it's like terrible." Like Brian Flores, he's a pretty good coach, but Mike McDaniel is just a difference maker. I mean, he is truly an incredible coach. But that being said, I'm going to take the 49ers here. I think this team, I mean, they haven't given up a point in their last 4 games in the second half. I mean, that's just incredible. And like, you look at their offense, they had a bad game last week offensively, but like Kittle, Debo, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, like, and then you look on their defense, and like Nick Bosa in the deep point conversation is right there. I mean, it's crazy how good this team is.
Yeah.
It's just like crazy to think about them with like elite quarterback too. But Jimmy G gets the job done, man. And this give me a really good game. I'm definitely excited for this. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the 49ers here.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's always good to have us disagree. It's always never good to go the same on
Yeah.
top. Yeah. Seahawks Rams here. The Rams are in a tough spot.
They're
And when
screwed.
I'm in a tough spot, they're gonna lose every game for the rest of the season. And then their draft pick is gonna go to the Lions. But yeah, it's just crazy with this team. I talked about it last week on the pod that they wanted Brian Burns and DJ Moore, and they might even finish with the worst record than the Panthers. Funny enough, but
This is gotta be the worst like Super Bowl to next year ever, right?
yeah, I mean the Eagles were bad, but at least they made the playoffs and got to the divisional round.
No, this team's gonna win. What are they? 3 wins right now? Like
I think they're gonna finish on 3 wins too.
Rob, they might be 3-14 this season.
Yeah, which is unbelievable. I mean, the Lions might have the number 1 pick, and it might not even be theirs. But
Oh my God! Imagine they get like Bryce Young and
yeah,
and then they're gonna have like Bryce Young and then
but yeah,
God knows.
I think that they're just, it's been the team of the NFL all year long. There are just a lot of average to bad teams. I think the Seahawks are pretty average. Look, I think Geno's been great. He really has been.
Yeah.
Against the Raiders. I obviously turned the ball over a couple times, but I still thought he had a very good game. Tough loss versus the Raiders last week. I mean, the Seahawks had some trouble closing close games, but I'm going to take him here. And, the Seahawks 49ers division title race towards the end of the year is going to get interesting. I mean, the Seahawks loss really hurt them last week, but I think that it might be a little tough for them to get in the playoffs, but it looks like that win over the Giants I think is going to end up really helping them because it could be Seahawks Giants for that last wild card spot.
Yeah. Seattle definitely going to win this week. Now to an AFC West showdown, Chargers Raiders. Interesting game.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna go with the Raiders here, to be honest. Um, they're playing much better offensively. Josh Jacobs is just different, man. This guy's gonna get paid in the offseason. If it's not by the Raiders, it's gonna be by someone. I mean, he's Josh McDaniels, as bad as a head coach as he is, the one good thing that he's really done is he's unlocked Josh Jacobs, and this man is a baller. Um, Vontae Adams finally starting to get the ball on a more consistent
Yeah,
level.
he's been a fantasy
Derek
monster this last month. I'll tell you. Look, this guy is Devontae Adams has been, he's still Devontae Adams. He's reminding
Yeah.
people that he's still a top three
And
guy.
Derek Carr's been, it's been a tough year for him. I mean, he's been definitely emotional about things. There definitely seems to be some, weird stuff going on in the locker room. This defense isn't great, but I'm going to pick him here. Chargers at least are getting healthier. That was a big win for them last week against the
Yes, it
Cardinals,
was. And
who
the
are,
Cardinals are just, they're a disaster.
I mean, Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, you would think at this point he's going to have to get fired. Um, Kyler is just like, this guy's a
He needs,
mess.
yeah, Kingsbury needs to go though. I think he's really I've been saying it for 2 years now that Cliff Kingsbury needs to be
I
fired.
mean, I think that was one of the best post game quotes I've heard in a while. And they are asking him about whatever play it was, and he's just like,
Our scheme's
"Yeah,
fucked.
schematically, we were kind of fucked." Like,
Yeah, yeah,
all right,
right. Yeah,
yeah,
no. Yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna go with the Raiders here as well, Griff. I mean, I think that they've been playing some really solid football over the past few weeks. Josh Jacobs obviously has been one of the best players in all of football over the past few weeks.
yeah.
Look, I think that they're sort of finding themselves a little bit. I don't think they're ever as bad as their 2-7 record said. Yeah, they got the Chargers at home. I think that this game will be frighteningly close, as all games between the Chargers and Raiders are. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Raiders here.
Yep. Yeah, that rematch. I didn't even think about that rematch of
Rematch is
that
high.
crazy Week
Maybe the
18 game
craziest,
last year.
maybe the craziest football game, regular season football game I've ever watched.
Yeah, I mean the stretch of that to the Chiefs Bills divisional game was
Yeah,
just like, no, that whole stretch of football was just crazy because that
yeah,
divisional week was all game winners. I mean, that was
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
That was like, yeah, that was the peak. That was like the peak of NFL football that we may ever watch. That little stretch. I mean, honestly, Chiefs Bengals rematch of that AFC Championship game, and that I think it was week 17 last year where Jamar Chase went for like 255, 3 tutties.
Yeah,
He'll be
yeah.
back this week.
One in the same game. Yeah.
I'm not picking against Mahomes, so I'm going with the Chiefs. Travis Kelsey is a different breed, man. This guy is
Yeah.
he's different. And he'll
It's
have another
almost.
good game. Can't pick against Mahomes. Just can't
I'm
do
gonna
it.
be honest. This is pretty crazy to me, but this might be the best version of the Chiefs I've seen. Out of all of these teams, I think this one might have the Super Bowl team is obviously unbelievable, but I think this team might have the strongest defense out of Mahomes Reed teams. This
It's still
Chiefs,
bad though. The defense still has bottom ranked. That's funny. Like this
yeah,
team is
but
just
it's
like,
they can't
but
play. They've never been able to play defense.
I know, but they in the weird spots they always get the job done.
Yeah,
Like Steve
right. Yeah, yeah,
Spagnuolo just gets it done. It's
yeah, yeah,
weird.
yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, I love myself some number one in Philadelphia, but Patrick Mahomes is the MVP of the National Football League. He's the best quarterback in football. He's the best player in football. He's one of the best of all time. So if anybody disagrees with that, I mean, I just think you're still living in the past, to be honest. But
Yeah.
this is a guy who's, like you said, I'm not betting against him. And Travis, the connection him and Kelsey have is just magical. It really is.
Yeah.
It's really getting to that Brady Gronk level almost. I mean, not quite there, but Patrick and Travis are just unbelievable together. And look, this is not a slight to the Cincinnati Bengals at all, who I think are going to be real trouble come playoff time. Because look, this is a team that's won 3 in a row, right? This is a team. Joe Burrow has found his footing, and the biggest benefit for them is that their offensive line has been much better over the past month. They spent a ton of money there this offseason. Everybody's saying, including us, was saying, "Oh well, it didn't even when the Bengals were initially struggling." That we were like, "Yeah, they didn't even get better. They spent a ton of money, and they didn't even get better over the past month." They're showing why they spend so much money. I think the Bengals are in a good spot, but like you said, I can't bet against number 15, so I'm gonna go with the Chiefs here.
Colts Cowboys. I think it's gonna be a blowout. I'm gonna go with the Cowboys. Defensively,
That's
they're
the Sunday night game, man. Come on.
yeah. Dolphins 49ers, like is this the Fox game of the week?
No, it's
I
not
feel
'cause
like
it's at 05 and not 25.
so
Also
I
an AFC
mean,
team on the road, which means it's a CBS sports game.
so is that Jim Nance or no?
Yeah, you would imagine.
I
You
mean, yeah,
probably
where else would
Nance
maybe
there.
Titans Eagles he would be
Yeah, they could
at?
be there too.
Nah, man, that
No,
doesn't.
Titans. I think the Fox number one team is on the Titans Eagles game.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
so interesting.
it's weird because
So
they give like a certain number of Fox like games to Fox even when AFC teams are on the road. It's weird.
shoot, man, let me see. No, this is on Fox.
Wait, with the which game? This game is on Fox.
Yeah,
Hold on. Let's see the
but
broadcast.
what's it?
But Burkhardt and
I know.
Olsen
I think.
Burkhardt and Olsen. I know are on the Eagles game.
Oh wait, it's like Chiefs Bengals that Jim Nance is on. We're stupid.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And then
And
the
not
game
even
of the week, I think, is just some weird. It's a Chargers Raiders, probably, right?
yeah, something like
Oh
that.
no, that's
That's okay.
CBS.
And
Is it the
that means that
Seahawks?
yeah. Well, they could just put the game of the week at 1 o'clock. I mean, honestly,
I feel.
like
Oh no, I think the game of the week is Titans Eagles.
yeah, I think it is
Yeah.
because the number one broadcaster is on it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. And
but yeah,
then CBS is doing probably Chiefs Bengals. Okay, sorry for the little delay, but yes, Cowboys should kill the Indianapolis Colts too. Jeff
well,
Saturday just looked like a fish out
Saturday.
of
Get
water.
him
Yeah.
out of here. Get Jeff Saturday out of here. He lost them the
That's
game
not
last
even
week.
like his fault, man. Like
No,
it's
it's
just like
not. But get him out of here. It's sad.
Colts are just turning into a disaster. I mean, these last few years, it's just
But
been.
they expended all their energy on giving the Eagles a fight, clearly. But yeah,
Saints Bucks. I assume you're going Cowboys.
yeah, I'm going Cowboys here. As
Yeah,
much as it
Saints
pains.
Bucks. I really don't understand why Andy Dalton is still the quarterback. I know Jameis isn't like all that, but like he's better than Andy Dalton. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm gonna go with the Bucks, but like the Bucks have been just playing
Yeah,
terrible. I mean, this
both
is
of them.
like crazy. I mean, the Bucks at this point are like I never want to doubt Brady, but it's just like they're terrible. I mean, that loss last week was terrible. And he's
There.
got all his weapons. He's got Godwin there, he's got Evans, he's got Rashad White played pretty well last week and
Their loss to the Steelers is like one of the most atrocious football losses. I'm sorry, I know this is like a month ago, but their loss to the
they're just
Steelers.
bad. They're just bad. It's crazy.
Yeah,
And the Saints always do have the Bucks number, but like I don't know. I just can't pick the Saints here. The Saints have just been terrible, but maybe they'll win this game. I mean, they probably will, honestly. Monday night in Tampa. Just seems like Marshawn Lattimore is going to get 2 picks if he plays.
yeah. I mean, I'm gonna go with the Bucks here, though. Listen, part of me saying that because I'm rooting for them hard because I'm just rooting for the Saints to lose every single game. The Saints traded their pick to us. What are they doing?
For Trevor Penning, right? Or was that for Olave?
For Olave. But like you don't trade your first round pick when you like this is what happens though when you have like the decision makers leave the organization. Like you have guys who think that the organization is just in a position that it's not. Like they're just not there. The Saints were never there. Both of these teams are really bad. The AFC or the NFC South, excuse me, as a whole is just god awful. It's up there with some of those NFC East divisions of years past, to be honest with you. But yeah,
Yeah.
they are both of those teams are bad, but I think that the Saints are truly atrocious, one of the worst teams in the NFL, and they don't get the ball in the hands of their best player. It's like they have an
Well, he did fumble twice last week.
twice, yeah.
Yeah.
But I still don't think that like the past few weeks he had one massive game. He has like one massive game the whole season.
Yeah. Seems like you're a disgruntled Alvin Kamara fantasy owner.
I would have been if I didn't trade him for Travis Kelce like 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, NFL. I mean, it's interesting times. Definitely going to start looking at the playoff picture, but crazy week for sports. Obviously, stay tuned. We're hopefully going to come out with an MLB free agency prediction episode this week. Predict, people are thinking Aaron Judge might sign this week. deGrom just dropped all of a sudden, so it's just like
Yeah, the
anything,
shortstops and the
anything can
shortstops as
happen,
well.
man.
The shortstop.
Shortstop market. I mean, I think Trey Turner will be a Philly, but he's had some meetings with the Padres.
Yeah, the
But
Padres.
that
Yeah,
doesn't even make that doesn't
but he
even make
was a
sense to me.
Padre. Why would he want to go back there? They traded him.
And they also have Fernando Tatis, the biggest cheater in the game.
Big- yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this episode. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts at Outside the Arena there. Check us out on our Instagrams. That'll be in the description. Happy to be back. We'll be back next week and hopefully during the week as well. So stay tuned. And yeah, thanks for watching this episode of Outside the Arena.